Today, our topic is what Nietzsche and Stoicism have in common. At first glance, Nietzsche and Stoicism might seem very different. Nietzsche is often seen as a rebel, a thinker who challenged traditional values and called for the creation of new ones. Stoicism, on the other hand, is an ancient philosophy that teaches us to accept what we cannot control and to focus on our inner strength. But if we look deeper, we can find some surprising connections between these two ways of thinking. Both Nietzsche and Stoicism are concerned with how to live a good life, how to face suffering, and how to find meaning in a world that can often feel chaotic and unfair. Let's explore these ideas together. First, let's talk about suffering. Both Nietzsche and the Stoics believe that suffering is a natural part of life. The Stoics teach us that we cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to it. They tell us to focus on our own thoughts and actions, rather than worrying about things outside of our control. This is a powerful idea because it gives us a sense of freedom. No matter what happens, we can always choose how to react. Nietzsche also talks about suffering, but in a different way. He says that suffering is not something we should avoid or try to escape. Instead, he believes that suffering can make us stronger. Nietzsche famously said, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." This means that when we face challenges and overcome them, we grow as individuals. Both Nietzsche and the Stoics agree that suffering is not something to be afraid of. It is a part of life, and it can even help us become better people. Another thing Nietzsche and Stoicism have in common is the idea of self-mastery. The Stoics believe that the key to a good life is to control our desires and emotions. They teach us to be disciplined, to focus on what is truly important, and to avoid being distracted by things that don't matter. Nietzsche also talks about self-mastery, but he calls it self-overcoming. He believes that we should constantly strive to improve ourselves, to become stronger, wiser, and more creative. Nietzsche encourages us to challenge ourselves, to push beyond our limits, and to create our own values. Both Nietzsche and the Stoics believe that we have the power to shape our own lives, but it takes effort and discipline. Now let's talk about the idea of fate. The Stoics believe that everything happens for a reason, and that we should accept whatever happens with calmness and grace. They call this Amor Fati, which means love of fate. The Stoics teach us to embrace whatever life throws at us, whether it's good or bad. Nietzsche also talks about Amor Fati. He says that we should not only accept our fate, but love it. Nietzsche wants us to say yes to life, to embrace everything that happens, even the difficult parts. He believes that by loving our fate, we can find meaning and joy in life. Both Nietzsche and the Stoics agree that life is not always easy, but we can still find a way to live with purpose and dignity. Another important idea that Nietzsche and Stoicism share is the focus on the present moment. The Stoics teach us to live in the here and now, to focus on what we can do today rather than worrying about the past or the future. They believe that the present moment is all we truly have, and that we should make the most of it. Nietzsche also emphasizes the importance of living in the present. He believes that we should not get caught up in regrets about the past or fears about the future. Instead, we should focus on creating a life that is full of passion and creativity. Both Nietzsche and the Stoics agree that the present moment is where life happens, and we should make the most of it. Now let's talk about the idea of virtue. The Stoics believe that the key to a good life is to live with virtue. They define virtue as wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. The Stoics teach us that if we live with these virtues, we can find peace and happiness no matter what happens in the outside world. Nietzsche also talks about virtue, but he has a different perspective. He believes that traditional virtues like humility and obedience can sometimes hold us back. Instead, Nietzsche encourages us to create our own values, to be bold and courageous, and to live life on our own terms. Both Nietzsche and the Stoics agree that living a good life requires us to be strong, to make good choices, and to stay true to ourselves. Finally, let's talk about the idea of meaning. Nietzsche is famous for saying, "God is dead," which means that traditional sources of meaning, like religion, are no longer enough for modern people. Nietzsche believes that we need to create our own meaning in life to find what gives us purpose and passion. The Stoics also talk about meaning, but they believe that meaning comes from living in harmony with nature and with our own inner values. Both Nietzsche and the Stoics agree that life can be challenging, but we can still find meaning and purpose if we focus on what truly matters. In conclusion, Nietzsche and Stoicism have more in common than we might think. Both philosophies teach us to face suffering with courage, to focus on self-mastery, to embrace our fate, to live in the present moment, to live with virtue, and to find meaning in life. They remind us that life is not always easy, but we have the power to shape our own destiny. Whether we are inspired by Nietzsche's call to create our own values, or by the Stoic focus on inner peace, both philosophies offer us valuable lessons on how to live a good life. So let's take these ideas to heart and strive to live with courage, discipline, and purpose. Remember, life is what we make of it, and we have the power to create a life that is meaningful and fulfilling.